Hello and welcome to Tarot with Tanya. This is 7 cards for 7 days, and we are looking at the week beginning Monday, March 11 and going to Sunday, March 17. Thank you so much for being here, and with all readings, take what resonates for you, let the rest go. And always feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'll cover a little astrology today. We don't have as much going on this week as last week, but a few things to mention. And then we'll look at the cards and we'll finish with an oracle card from the Enchanted Blossoms deck. So we begin our week with the moon in Aries. We're just coming off of this new moon in Pisces, which you know, new moons are always potent times. I think I mentioned last time that I recommend Jan Spiller's book on new moon astrology, and you can make those new moon wishes based on her suggestions. They've worked really well for me, so I highly recommend that. But it was a very dreamy Pisces, creative, potentially confusing, but you know, also potentially very peaceful and inspiring kind of energy. And Aries is all about the fire and getting things done. So hopefully you had some dream time over the weekend, and then Monday comes and you're ready to take some action. We end our week with the moon in Cancer, so we're going through Taurus and Gemini. So, you know, all the elements there, the fire, then the earth, then the air, and we'll end back up in water. And Cancer is ruled by the moon. It's all about the feminine, about the home, about nurturing the self and others. And then on Monday, this is a big one. Venus enters Pisces, stays there for about 3 weeks, and this will enhance our sensitivity, our compassion. We may have a desire to help others. On the other side, we can be prone to daydreaming. I mean, I think that's a good thing, but you know, there are limits there, right? We got to do the practical too. We might be sort of in love with the idea of romance, and we might be more inclined to sacrifice ourselves, not literally, of course, but to make some sacrifices for another. And, you know, artists are very favored during this time. Many artists have that placement of Venus in Pisces. And then we go all the way to Sunday before we have another major aspect, and that would be the Sun conjunct Neptune. So those conjunctions mean that they are coming together, they are touching each other essentially from our point of view. So we might be feeling that things in our lives are a little unrealistic, we might feel a little unsure about stuff. The sun is our personality, obviously it's what shines the light on our world and so forth. And then Neptune, it rules that Pisces that I mentioned, so the dreaminess, the potential lack of groundedness, not being, you know, in touch with reality. So those two energies, when they come together, they're big. And so we want to be mindful on that day of things like fraudsters. On the other hand, you know, anytime Neptune is involved, I think using it to dream and to create is one of the best ways to handle that energy. All right, so moving into our cards for the week. Wow. It is, I'm just going to say, a theme of royal persons. So those are people cards, so they can represent energies within the self, or they might represent energies of people around you. So we have more of those in this reading than I've ever seen the entire time I've been reading the cards, you know, for this in particular. And it's a balance between the masculine and feminine, and then we just have one major for the week. All right, so we begin our Monday, the 11th, with the Queen of, I'll back that off, see if that's a little bit better. The Queen of Vessels, and I'm using the Wildwood deck. This is an English deck. I absolutely love it. A very dear friend gave it to me. It's just a wonderful deck. So the vessels are the water energy. They represent that element, which, you know, makes sense from the visual here. We have our fish leaping out. And the Queen of Water or Vessel sometimes is called the Water Fairy. It's very psychic, very intuitive, can be very nurturing. I mean, again, it makes me kind of think of that Cancer moon we're heading toward. But, you know, here we've got the moon in Aries, so it'll be a different kind of energy. But as Venus enters Pisces, this seems like a really good card for that. So, you know, look for that enhanced sensitivity, maybe a nurturing female presence. Doesn't have to be a woman, but a feminine energy in your life as well. Or maybe you're called upon to give that yourself. Tuesday, we continue our energy of the royal cards, and this time another feminine, the Page of Bows. So the bows in this deck represent the fire energy. So then that would mean we would have a mixture of masculine and feminine. The masculine coming from the fire element, the feminine coming from the page herself. So I love this image. You do have, even though it's a fiery thing, which is very much reflected in the coat on the animal, the water in the background. I'll try to bring that a little closer. Sorry, we hit the glare, but you can see that water pouring forth. So there's a little softening, and, you know, again, that can signify the feminine. But this particular card often is associated with like hot news. Very quick news. The pages tend to bring things in quickly. You know, they're the messengers. And it can be of an instinctual nature. Fire represents our instincts. Something hot and passionate also. On Wednesday, we continue with the bows. So we have that fire energy going, and now we've moved into a minor. And you know, the aces are always about starting something new, some kind of an initiation. So when we hit Wednesday, maybe there's a reset on the energies for you, for all of us in the collective. That we may be inspired. We might have a different kind of vision. You know, with the Neptunian, Piscean energy, it almost might seem like it's just hard to get your fingers on. It's there, but, you know, it might be a little misty, a little distant. Now here, it's going to be, you know, it might be sort of, you know, a little fire at the back of the mind, or, you know, some kind of a flash or whatever, but it'll be motivating to get something done, or to plan to get something done. We continue with our royal cards by Thursday. So we have a couple of kings this week, so those would be the two masculines I mentioned in the royal cards. And here we have the King of Arrows, and arrows are the sword energy, the air energy in this deck. So we have our beautiful kingfisher, but also, you know, a mixture of the elements, because kingfishers like to fish, as their name says. And, you know, you will see them, I've seen them flying over waters, as we have this one here. So that, again, like in the Page of Bows card, where you see that sort of waterfall in the back, here the water kind of softens things. So the kings are at the peak of a particular element. So their energy can be very pronounced, very skillful. Now, if you have somebody using it unskillfully, it can be a bit bludgeoning, a bit sharp. That's probably a better word for, you know, the swords. It can be a sharp tongue, sharp words, things like that. But if used well, as in the sacred masculine, it can be getting good advice, giving good advice, receiving thoughts that are helpful for other people, yourself, the direction you might be going in. So again, that was our Thursday. Now on Friday, we do continue that mental energy, that sword energy called arrows in the Wildwood deck. And, you know, here we have a figure. We can tell the wind is very strong by the way that things are bending to one side here. And frequently you will see this card. It's not quite as obvious here, but if you look closely, you'll see these arrows around the figure. And generally, those will be swords in most decks, and they tend to give an illusion, and that's the important word, an illusion of entrapment, like I'm stuck in this place, but it's only in our thinking, only in our mental abilities. So the 8 is connected to the Strength card in this deck. It's called the Stag, but it's the same energy. So you know, that this is a lesson from that of, in a way, mental toughness and not letting the self be trapped. So we have to recognize when that energy comes up. So for feeling sort of stuck on something, you know, mulling it over and over, maybe obsessing a bit on a thought, you know, step back and, you know, find that inner strength and see if you can let go of that and realize it is an illusion and there are other options. So that's Friday. On, you know, and part of any time we have a card too, it can be showing not that we're necessarily entering that energy, but that we're handling that energy, we're dealing with it, we're healing from it. Our last people card, our last royal card for this week's reading, and this time we have the King of Vessels. So we started our Monday, our week, with the Queen. So here's the counterpart, so the masculine aspect of this. And again, as a king, top of that energy, at least, you know, from the masculine point of expression. And, you know, water, obviously, intuitive, psychic, sensitive, empathic. It can be very nurturing. So it could even be a protective male energy in that way. You know, like a Cancer, but, you know, expressed through the more protective masculine kind of energy. So that's really a beautiful, I mean, I like that they almost bookend. I mean, this is our Saturday, so it goes from Monday to Saturday, not Monday to Sunday. But still, that pair is there, so that does make me think of the sacred feminine and the divine masculine having a pretty strong impact on us this week. Sunday, finally, and here is our one and only major for the week, and that is, let's see, the Hooded Man. It's typically called the Hermit or the Crone in most decks, but here, the Hooded Man. And, you know, same with the other ones and other decks, you often see this hooded figure. It's not about a focus on the face. It's about going inward. It's connected to Virgo. You see a kind of cave sort of illuminated with the light. You have a wren here, and in Celtic mythology, that's a messenger too. So it's almost like that page energy. And the staff shows the connection to the earth, to the feminine side of the Hooded Man's lineage. So it can be very much a desire to go inward that day, a desire not to interact that much with other people, to focus on what is healing and nurturing to the self, what deep insights might occur that day. So again, lots of people coming up potentially this week, or lots of, if you know the word archetypes, those original energies that we all share in our human unconsciousness, and we can become conscious of them, but generally they're in that unconscious area, but you know, they do exist and they may come up this week. So look for those kinds of energies that we talked about. All right, and then we'll finish with a card from Enchanted Blossoms, and this one is Prosperity. So these are all a combination of a flower and a butterfly, and each butterfly has a little sort of dragon with it, you'll see in the picture. So speaking of, let me give you that visual. I think these are such beautiful cards. So it's the allium and the Brazilian swallowtail. So our purple alliums, which is a part of the onion family, and then this gorgeous butterfly and that sort of little dragon spirit of the butterfly with it. All right, prosperity. Related to the onion and the garlic, allium was one of the earliest cultivated crops. The Egyptians were among the first to document onion harvesting, but peoples of the ancient world had been doing so for generations. In the mid-19th century, allium was explicitly cultivated as an ornamental bulb for gardens. They are very pretty. In that short time, gardeners have created a fantastic array of flowers, and allium can now be planted in a wide range of colors and sizes. Their large round flower heads can grow up to 10 inches in diameter. We tend to think of prosperity as an end goal. For most people, being prosperous means to be rich or to have everything they always wanted. However, this is not always the case. This card is asking you to work toward creating a life that is full of richness. Grow yourself, your friendships and experiences to make each year better than the last. Yearn to do better or to do more, not necessarily monetarily, but in ways that will serve others and make you happy. Learn, grow, and do things that will improve your world. If something doesn't work, don't just give up. Failure is a lesson that helps us grow faster. Prosperity comes from consistently moving toward bigger and better things. And I'm going to add, as defined by you, your soul, what you want. So, beloveds, I'm wishing you the best week possible. Please consider liking, sharing, subscribing. And if you'd like a personal reading, please contact me. My email will be below in the description box, and there'll be some information at the end of the video. I'll see you next week.